All right, everyone. So, I thought what I would do was kind of take you along my mindset and everything as this Hurricane Irma affected me personally. I want to start out by saying that we made it back home safely. As you saw at the beginning of this video, we spent time with family in Gainesville. We happen to have a family member who was very gracious and allowed us to stay in a hotel that they owned. They're tremendous hosts. The staff was incredible at this hotel that we stayed at. In fact, I'm going to drop a link to that particular Best Western that we stayed at down in the description below. So if you ever are in the Gainesville area for like a football game or you're just driving through, make sure you book a stay at this Best Western. The staff is top notch. They dealt with frustrated and unruly customers with such dignity, and it was really great to see. But we made it back home. Our particular townhome that we're living in does not have power, and that is the only issue we have to deal with. There was no flooding in our place, which was great because we just got new carpet installed. There was no wind damage to anything on the outside. We were really, really lucky, and to come through Hurricane Irma, which was a gigantic storm, the biggest in this country's history, to come through with only losing power is humbling, because there are other people who are affected by this storm in a much greater capacity than what I was. We just don't have power. We don't know when we're gonna have power. It could be a day, it could be a week, we're not sure. But I'll take not having power over damaged property, flooded property, and heaven forbid, loss of life, which unfortunately this storm did bring. The first few nights we were in Gainesville, I felt like I kept my cool. I was very calm. The rest of the family were really stressed out. Of course, they're homeowners and we're renters, so I wasn't as stressed out about property damage as they were. And also because our townhome is sandwiched between two other townhomes. We're the townhome that's right in the middle, so I felt like we were pretty safely guarded there. The closer that we got to Hurricane Irma actually impacting our area, the more stressed I began to feel. It wasn't stressed because I thought we were going to lose any possessions or anything like that. It was just the not knowing what we were going to come home to, which is what got to me. But I think what broke me down the most, we're getting our daughter to bed. She's going to be 3 in a few months, and she doesn't quite understand what's happening. All she knows is that we're not at home, and she was having a breakdown. She was tired. She hadn't really been eating that well. She wasn't all that comfortable, and she looked with us with tears in her eyes, and she just said, "I want to go home." And I think that's when I met my breaking point. When she said, "I want to go home," that broke me, because that's all we've wanted to do was go home. And sometimes when you're an adult, you compartmentalize things and you try to think about other things to keep your mind off things. And my daughter just wanted to go home. And as a parent, it killed me that I wasn't able just to take her home, where she would have her own bed, where she would be comfortable, where she would have her toys. And after she said that, I kind of looked at my wife and I was like, I want to go home too. We all want to go home. And it was that night that I actually had my own emotional breakdown. I know that my wife and I did the right thing by leaving, by evacuating. I think if we would have been here when the storm passed over, not only would my wife and I be really, really scared, but our daughter would be really scared, and that would upset us all. And of course, we haven't had power, and I think us being where there was power was really, really important. We did take our 2 cats with us because we didn't want to leave them behind because we didn't know what was going to happen with the storm. But it dawned on me that I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea where we're going to come home to, and it was crushing me. And then I started thinking about the other people who aren't going to have a home to go to. This hurricane wiped it completely away. Their possessions, their cars, the roof over their head. There are going to be people who are going to be affected by this storm for months and years. And I'm just coming home to a place that doesn't have power. You know, fortunately, we have family who does have power, and so they're able to stay there. I'm staying at our place that doesn't have power because I'm a little concerned about looters. People are finding out who's not at home and they're trying to break in, and I don't feel like I kind of want to put it out there that we are in this place. I don't want them to come in. But I started thinking, like, I'm in a really good position where other people aren't. How can I help them? I was lucky enough to escape the worst part of this storm. I was lucky enough to come home to just the loss of power. I was lucky enough to come home to see no flood damage, no wind damage. Our car wasn't flipped over. A tree hadn't crashed on it. And I'm lucky in that aspect, but there are a lot of people who are affected by the storm that aren't going to be so lucky. So I would encourage you to find ways that you can help, whether volunteering your time or making a donation to the American Red Cross or some way. I'm actually going to put links down below where you can find ways you can help people who are affected by the storm in a much more serious way than I was. But above all, it made me really... I'm not a possession type of person. I don't consider myself to be materialistic. I like having the newest electronics. I like having a nice car. You know, I like having the new doodads or whatnot. But it's not what I base my life around. But I started to think even more just how little possessions and material things mean in the grand scheme of things. After our daughter had her breakdown and we finally got her to sleep, we're laying in the hotel room. My daughter's sleeping between my wife and I, and that's when I think it hit me more than it's ever hit me before, that anything that I could ever possibly want or need, I had right there in that small room on that bed with me. I had my wife and I had my daughter, and nothing else mattered. They're what mattered. Their life, them being safe, them being comfortable. That's what matters the most to me. If I would have come home and my PlayStation would have been damaged, the TVs would have been damaged, we would have lost our couches, our tables. After that moment, after looking at my daughter sleeping peacefully between me and my wife and watching my wife sleep peacefully, I don't think that I would even have cared. And sometimes it takes something like this to reprioritize things in your life. Again, I've never been one who centers my life around material things, but I'm certainly, after this, not going to ever take for granted my wife and my daughter and the life that they have and what they do for me. My wife was incredible through all this. Not only did she pack us to get ready to go, but she also packed up things that she wanted to keep safe. I mean, she did all that in a span of like 4 or 5 hours because we weren't planning on leaving. But all of a sudden it hit us that we need to go, and she packed us and everything. Not only that, but when you're in a car for 4.5 hours with a 2.5-year-old, they don't like to be in a car that long typically. And my wife did such a great job of keeping my daughter calm, playing with her in the back. Not only that, but we had 2 cats that we took with us because we didn't want to leave them behind. And my wife did such a great job of making sure that they were comfortable and they felt safe. I could not think of a better person to ride this storm out with than my wife. Pretty lucky that I have her. I'm very lucky that my daughter Ava has her as a mother. And I'm grateful for my family. My in-laws are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. My nieces and nephews, I love and adore them, and they love and adore me. Both of my sister-in-laws are great. My brother-in-law Brad is fantastic. We all stuck together. We were together through the thick of it. We watched out for each other. We looked out for each other exactly how family is supposed to. And I feel really lucky and very blessed that I didn't have to go through this storm alone. And it kind of makes you think about the people who have to go through this alone. But I felt lucky that I was with who I was with. And I feel lucky that we got to be so well taken care of by the people at this hotel that we were at. And the fact that we had family who was so gracious enough to put us up in this hotel, where some people were coming in spending $600, $700, $800 a night, or not a night, but $600 or $700 or $800 for their entire stay. We didn't have to worry about that. And going through this storm makes you think about things like that. Makes you think about how great I have it, how lucky I have it, and what it is I did to deserve all this, I don't know. I didn't do anything different than the next person. I didn't do anything different than the people down in Naples who have lost their homes. I didn't do anything different from them. Why is it that I was so lucky enough to have all this support and to not have to worry about all this loss? I don't know. All I do know is that it is my job to pay it forward. So I'm going to be helping out however I can. I'm a music teacher. My school has a ton of instruments. There are schools down in Naples whose entire instrument inventory was probably ruined. And if there's some way that I can send the instruments we have at our school down to them, then that's what I'm going to do. Because our school has the resources, it has the funds to get new stuff for us. And I would rather donate what we have and be without it than to have those other kids who go to these schools who've already lost enough to not be able to come to a music room and do something musical like with the xylophones or with drums. All I know is because I've been so lucky to have what I have and to not have lost what other people have lost, it's my responsibility to pay it forward in some way. That's what this is about, taking care of each other. And so I want to encourage all of you, whether you're in a totally different state or you're in the same state as I am, wherever you are, find a way to help, because the situation that you're in, I can promise you, is better than the situation that the people who just got railroaded by this storm is in. They've lost their homes. They've lost everything. What can we do to help? What can I do to help? What can you do to help? The links below will take you to places, take you to websites where you can help out in some way, that whether that's donating time, money, blood, whatever it is that you can donate to help these people get through what they can get through. But again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I'm fortunate, I'm lucky. My thoughts and my prayers are going to be with those people who are much more affected than I was. So I want to encourage you, do what you can to help those people who are in need, and pay that blessings, pay the luckiness, whatever you want to call it, pay that forward so that somebody else can get a glimpse of that. I'm alive, my wife is alive, my daughter's alive, my cats are alive, and that's what matters. Hurricane Irma did not take anything from me that I'm gonna miss. And I feel blessed by that. So now that Hurricane Irma's gone, we can try to get back to normal, try to get back to how things were. Our school is canceled for the next several days. Teachers go back on Friday, students report back on Monday. Our schools in this county were shelters. They took in over 25,000 evacuees plus their pets, and I mean, there's nothing like seeing a community of people come together to help each other out. With all the issues we have in this country, with all the divide that we have in this country, it's times like these that make you see just how great this country is, because people were pulling together and helping each other out. They weren't caring about what race they were, what religion they were, how they identified themselves, who they were married, who they chose to love. No one cared about that. All they cared about was helping each other out. And that's what makes this country great. And yeah, we have our issues, but when things like this come up, you see people from all walks of life willing to help out anybody and everybody. I want to help people experience what I experienced. I want to help people feel as fortunate, as lucky as I am. And I want to challenge you to do the same. Click those links down below. Find out ways you can help. All right? Music Man Steel signing out. Stay musical, everybody.